Brazilian buses. Do I touch them? Do I play around with them? Well, yes. These ones that are air-cooled, I do servicing on them and some fault diagnosis as well, which we'll get onto right now. Here I am sat in a late Brazilian bus, air-cooled 1600. So the late Brazilian buses were, or some of the late air-cooled Brazilian buses were air-cooled 1600s, but they are fuel injected. There was also 1.4 water-cooled versions, but I don't touch those. So I only generally do engine servicing on these because I don't get involved with fuel injection. And this customer brought it to me to basically check out a bit of a noise. So it just runs beautifully, drives beautifully, but it's a bit noisier than it should be. So I checked over the valve train, checked the valves. They had been previously adjusted by somebody else, but I found 3 of them to be too loose. So I had to adjust those, and they'd reused the rocker cover gaskets, so I had to change those and reseal those. Took it for a test drive, has some pops and bangs. The distributor cap and rotor were very mucky and corroded. I found multiple corroded connections for the fuel injection system, and I also found a couple of split vacuum hoses, all which have been replaced. That now means that it doesn't have any pops and bangs, but it's still a bit noisy. So what I basically did is I went round the exhaust system because it sounded very exhausty, and when I first started it up I noticed a little bit of water under the main muffler of the exhaust on the right hand side. And normally water is an indication that there is a leak, because water is a natural byproduct of combustion. And just on the middle of the muffler of the silencer there was a little bit of water, and I thought, oh, that looks like a leak. All I literally did when it had cooled down was to put literally my finger on the muffler, went straight in. So I'm going to try and show you guys this underneath. If you have a little looky, you can see there is a nice hole, and that band that you can see going across of rust, that means it's been porous for a while and it's had water sitting in it and it needs replacement. Unfortunately these are not available, so I'm going to be doing a patch up job to try and get that nicely patched up, but we'll have to see if that stays put or if the customer needs to go and get a exhaust made up. So it doesn't look particularly alien in here. There's just a few additions for the fuel injection system. So this is a throttle body and then injectors on the side as opposed to a carburetor. What I replaced on this one, there were 2 leaking vac hoses here, which I've replaced. The distributor cap and rotor were extremely mucky, so I've cleaned them up, and some of the terminals here were mucky. I may well still replace those. I'll speak to the customer first. Lastly, all these little electrical connections dotted around all over the place up here, I pulled them all off, give them a quick squirt of contact cleaner and make sure that they were all nice, made sure that the timing's okay, and then I adjusted the valve. So not that dissimilar for people that aren't familiar with fuel injected models. It's still air cooled, it's still basically the same engine underneath, so that's what I did on this one.